Hello, my friends. I'm so excited to be sharing some snippets of a Wellness Your Way podcast interview I did with Dr. Peter Kozlowski, a gut health expert and functional medicine doctor. In this clip, we'll discuss everything from what is gut health and why is it so important, to why food sensitivities are so common these days, the impact of stress on our gut, and so much more. We're about to dive into these clips, but before we do, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Wellness Your Way, so you don't miss out on any of the videos that I share weekly. Thank you so much again, Dr. Kozlowski, for being on Wellness Your Way. I'm thrilled to have you here.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be here.
Can you just start by telling our audience who might not know you yet a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm a functional medicine doctor. I have a private practice in Chicago and in Bozeman, Montana. I started as a family practice doctor. So I'm a traditionally trained MD. I went through residency. And I was about as like traditional as you could be. Like I just kind of followed the studies and followed what my attendings were teaching me and what the book said. And my parents were both doctors. So I came from like, they had very traditional thinking. And then one day I was introduced to functional medicine and my life was never the same after that.
And one of the foundational principles of functional medicine is gut health. I know that's a topic you're super passionate about, and we've talked a lot here on Wellness Your Way. So can you just tell us in your words, what is gut health and why is it so important?
Yes. So the thing that was ingrained to me from the beginning of my functional medicine training was always start with the gut. And that doesn't matter if you're working with someone with autism or MS or Hashimoto's or hypertension. Usually it starts with the gut, and that the gut, starting with the gut, starts with nutrition. So I would say that, I mean, one of the examples I really like is Hippocrates 3,000 years ago said all disease begins in the gut. So he knew this 3,000 years ago. And the funny thing to me is that since he said that, everything we've done is pretty damaging to the gut.
Yeah.
Right.
Good
All
point.
the things we've done to our food supply, the lack of fiber in our diets, antibiotics, antidepressants, all these other different meds, stress. So we've just basically took what he learned and went backwards. And that's a big reason why chronic disease is increasing so much. And there's so much we can talk about with the gut, but I think something that most people don't understand about it, that makes it so important, why it's so important, it is the gateway into your body. Right. The gut is a tube that starts with your mouth, ends with the anus, made of the mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine. It's a huge, long tube. That tube has openings on both ends. So the inside of that tube is actually considered outside of your body. And so it works just like the skin, right? But people will wash their hands all day long, but then throw anything into their gut tube. Well, the gut tube is way thinner than the skin. So it's much easier for things to get through that tube. And on the other side of that tube is the bloodstream. And so the bloodstream's there. What the bloodstream, things get into vessels in your gut. But what happens with the bloodstream? It's pumped by your heart to every part of your body, right? That is why you could take like 100 patients with SIBO or gluten sensitivity or candida overgrowth, and they all have different symptoms. The inflammation gets into the body through the gut, and then it's free game to go anywhere. And so in your blood is also your immune system's hanging out there, and it's picking through everything that's coming through those through your gut, and it's identifying good and bad. And if something's bad, it attacks, right? That's inflammation, and then inflammation can get anywhere. So I think a lot of it is what we've done to our food supply and our environment, right? The proteins of the foods that we eat don't look like they used to. They've been modified genetically, filled with chemicals, and all these proteins are different. So this is why I think food sensitivities are increasing so much. And it's actually like an appropriate response, food sensitivity almost. Like if your body has identified this genetically modified or altered food, it kind of makes sense that your body's like, hey, get out of here. So that, I mean, there's, like I said, there's so many other directions we can go in the gut, but just from like understanding why, you can have someone again with like Hashimoto's, rheumatoid arthritis, autism, ADHD, migraines, eczema, why we're starting with the gut. And a lot of these people don't have any gut symptoms or are so unconnected to their guts that they don't even realize what it's like to have a healthy gut. So in just about anybody, I can argue it makes sense to look at their gut. And it's, as a family practice doctor, we were taught preventative medicine. Well, to me, gut health is true preventative medicine.
Yes. I love what you're saying. So I'm going to try to recap so that we make sure we're all on the same page. There's a tube that is your digestive tract. On the inside of that tube is technically outside of our body. That's where food goes into. And things get through the tube since it's one cell thick in some areas, which is great because our nutrients need to get in there and all of this. That's how we absorb the good parts from our food. But because of the food supply primarily, as well as stress, antibiotics, etc., that whole process is kind of getting messed up, and some not good stuff is getting in the bloodstream, which is causing inflammation. Is that
exactly? Yeah.
Okay.
And that's that. A lot of people have heard of that term, leaky gut. That's exactly kind of what leaky gut means. It means your gut is more permeable and letting things in that shouldn't be coming in.
As we continue, unfortunately, having more GMOs, less good quality food supply, things like that, you suspect, as I do, that food intolerances will continue increasing. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And our guts are going to get leakier because things that make your gut leaky are stress, are antibiotics, are toxins like lead and mercury, low stomach acid, antibiotics. All that stuff makes your gut the function of it as a barrier work less efficiently. So it makes it more likely that more things are going to get into your blood and more likely that you're going to react to more stuff that you're exposed to.
You just talk about stress, gratitude, and your gut.
Yeah. So that is my biggest passion with gut health is our mental, emotional, spiritual health. Mm-hmm. And that's with I've learned that through my own story of recovery, but also as being a perfectionist, like over the years, I only really focused on the patients that didn't get better. And what was the underlying theme in everybody pretty much. And it was usually trauma. And using that definition of trauma that I use, it's more people fit into that category. So why is that? And it's because of the gut brain connection, right? Your gut is surrounded with a nervous system called the enteric nervous system, which has over 200 million neurons in it, more than your brain has, or your central nervous system. That nervous system is connected to your brain by a nerve called your vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve runs from the brain to the gut and from the gut to the brain. So it's sending signals in both directions. Mm-hmm. The vagus nerve runs on your autonomic nervous system, your automatic nervous system, which can either be in sympathetic response or parasympathetic response. Sympathetic is fight or flight. Parasympathetic is rest and digest. The analogy I use is basically, now that I live in Montana, if you're out hiking in the mountains and you see a grizzly bear, your sympathetic nervous system is activated because you want to survive. Mm-hmm. And if you do end up surviving and then you're sitting by the campfire at the end of the night, your parasympathetic is activated because you're relaxed and your body's like, okay, the blood needs to go to my gut to break down this food that I ate. Whereas when you're running from a bear, the last thing you want to be doing is focusing energy to digest food, right? Well, we are living as if we're running from a bear 24/7.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of this. The first thing I do when I wake up is check my phone, email, text, calls, the news. And that does not activate my parasympathetic nervous system. My sympathetic is activated, right? Yeah. And so I'm telling my gut, hey, you're off today, right? And so you're not going to be digesting. And then you sit down and you have breakfast, you're watching the news or answering emails. You're not relaxing. You're not sending blood to your gut. You're not digesting. You're shutting down your bacteria. You're shutting them down from eating. And that over time leads to leaky gut, dysbiosis, SIBO, low stomach acid, all these things we've talked about.
I hope you loved hearing from Dr. Peter Kozlowski as much as I did. If you are interested in hearing the full interview, I'll post the link to the Wellness Your Way podcast episode right below this video. So go ahead, scroll down there. We talk about everything from why wheat is different on your gut here in the US versus in Europe. We talk about how to know if your gut is healthy if you don't have symptoms. We talk about probiotics and when not to take them, the impact of gratitude on your health, and so much more. So scroll on down below. Hit that link to head over to the Wellness Your Way podcast and listen to the full episode there. And don't forget to give this video a like. It really helps out a lot. And subscribe to my channel so you don't miss future videos like this.